NOAA plane here and Rebecca to talk about what they do in a hurricane, because we have satellites, we have radar, we have all these different pieces of equipment, but it's you all that fly all around the hurricane that help us make the models better. Can you tell us what you do? What kind of data do you get?
Absolutely. So the Gulfstream 4 behind me, NOAA 49, is our high altitude research jet. So we use this one to fly between 41,000 and 45,000 feet around and above the hurricanes. All the while we're dropping these systems, these drop zones. They're dropped via pressure differential out of the plane. Once they come out, this releases up, gets chute. It drops down vertically throughout the entire storm. It takes about 15 minutes to go from 45,000 feet down to the ocean. All the while it's collecting temperature, humidity, pressure, and we also get GPS wind speed and direction. All of that data is transmitted back up to the plane via radio waves, and then from there it gets transmitted via satellite to the National Hurricane Center to be ingested into different models and improve the forecast.
And I tell you, with that data, we can't do it without you, because that really does improve the models. And we take that data, it helps us make those forecasts and those watches and warnings. What's it like? I mean, you fly into the hurricane, it's got to be it's a bumpy ride, right? All the kids here, they go, how bumpy is it? I mean, what's it like flying in one?
It can certainly be bumpy. Since we're up at high altitude, we're not nearly as bumpy or as turbulent as the P3 or the Air Force hurricane hunters. They're the ones that are right in the middle and really hitting the turbulence. Us being around the storm and above it, we actually get a fairly decent ride. We are still in the serious level of the hurricane, so we're still in the clouds, IFR conditions for flying. But overall, it's not bad being up in the jet.
Well, I'll tell you what, thank you for what you do, because it really does help us at the Hurricane Center, having the data, and you all up there giving us that data for the models. It really does help. And it's interesting, like I said, you got the satellites, we got all sorts of different aspects of NOAA. And I wanted to bring Jim Reynolds. He's the MIC locally here. We're at McAllen, Texas today as part of this hurricane awareness tour.
Okay, good to see you.
What a great day, and thank you for being here. I did want to ask, we issue at the Hurricane Center, we take all the great data from the NOAA planes, the satellites, and the buoys. We take that data and we put together the forecasts and the warnings. But I tell you guys are really the experts right here in the Rio Grande Valley. What are some of the big challenges you have locally here with the tropical system?
Sure, Ken. So we're always concerned about the flooding threat. That's going to be our number one here in the Rio Grande Valley. But then secondly, there will be the surge component, and then third will be wind across the entire area.
And you've been impacted. I mean, last season, 2017, you're really close. I mean, one of the big questions that the local media has had for me here today is, they're looking at the rainfall from Harvey. I mean, if you thought about what ifs, if you're able to get 40 to maybe 60 inches of rain here in the Rio Grande Valley, I mean, the impacts would be devastating.
Certainly have thought about that, and I really couldn't even say what would happen, but it would be very bad. I mean, as bad as it was for the folks in Houston, it would maybe be worse here, because we have a lot more properties that are underdeveloped, with these things that we call colonias, where underserved people live. And so that would be a huge problem for us if we got that kind of rainfall here.
And so what are the other challenges? I mean, in the Weather Service, we have this Weather Ready Nation initiative all throughout NOAA. And, we've gone from issuing the forecast, we've kind of done that. We issue the products, hit enter, but it's become more interactive with emergency managers. I mean, one of the big roles is that local relationship with emergency managers. Can you tell us a little bit about that and how it's evolved?
Sure. So I think we have a very strong relationships with the local emergency managers, and that's not really my concern. It's really about raising the awareness of the hazards for hurricanes, with the public here. And so I'm so grateful for the hurricane, them having to stop here on the tour so we can rebuild that, because we haven't had the tour here for like about 8 years. So as much as we're able to this week to get the word out and raise awareness and get folks thinking about a plan of evacuation, whatever they're going to do to deal with that kind of thing, now's the perfect time.
Well, there you have it. We're on the ground here, and if you think about all this preparedness, you see the kids. We've met emergency managers here today, and it's become a little cliche. It's a little bit of a bumper sticker. We talk about it only takes one, and it's interesting to be able to think about that. You can have dozens and dozens of hurricanes, but if one hurricane hits the Rio Grande Valley, then you have a very big season.
That's
so
right.
Once again, what an effort. I mean, you meet the emergency managers. It's a whole loop. You talk about the whole NOAA effort with the satellites, the buoys. You talk about the Hurricane Center, the local office. What an amazing effort it is that we have. And another part of that loop is the emergency management. It's the media that we're out here today. When that whole loop is whole, I'll tell you what, the whole system works pretty good. And that's why we're here this entire week, going to the different locations as part of Hurricane Preparedness Week. And it's all about getting prepared well before the next hurricane, because it's a little too stressful to get things going when there's a hurricane coming. So that's why we're here today. Thank you so much for joining. What a whole